Hey guys, it's Courtney here from Willow's Bloom, and I'm going to be talking to you guys about the Libra new moon happening on October 16th at 23 degrees of Libra. So, if you know where Libra is in your chart, just find 23 degrees and you will see where it's going to impact you personally. So, I already recorded this video and the sound just like started skipping, and half of it was erased. I don't know why, and I am just moving in somewhere. So I actually don't have the time to record the new moon messages for every single rising sign. Like I had all written out, all the information written out, all planned. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen this week. So I'm sorry about that. And I was really looking forward to doing it. So I'm a little bit disappointed that that's how everything turned out, but I've been having quite a bit of trouble with technology. I'm trying to get everything set up and, hopefully get it working so that I can not worry about it anymore. So let's talk about what's going on with this new moon. I pulled a ton of cards and I really went over what I think this all means. So I'm just going to kind of lay it all out for you guys again. So essentially, what's going on right now is I believe that we are experiencing a revival or a renewal of one area of our life. So essentially, I think that while we're going to have a new beginning, and that's what new moons typically are, it's going to require adjustments. And we have so many planets retrograde. We have Neptune, Mars, Uranus, and Mercury, and the asteroid of Chiron all moving retrograde, which is essentially asking us to review certain areas of our lives where these planets are. And this review process is really going to help us hone in on our true desires and our goals in a way that is more and more in alignment with who we are. We're changing every single day, and our goals are changing every day with us. And so they need to adapt to the person that we are growing into. And I feel like when we first started off this year, we had certain goals, we had certain visions, and those were good for us at the time. But now I think with this Libra new moon is essentially asking us to change things because we are different, and who we want to be and who we should be and our highest versions of ourselves is different and requires a slightly different focus and a slightly different approach. And so that's really what I feel like this new moon is about. So let's talk about some general aspects happening in the sky, and then we'll talk about some cards and what's happening specifically with this moon. So what's going on is that we're having Neptune retrograde opposing Venus in Virgo. So Venus in Virgo can already give us sort of this energy of being hypercritical of our partners. We can be focusing on all the small details and not seeing the wider or broader perspective of our relationship. And with Neptune opposing it, it can create greater misunderstandings, boundary issues, and most importantly, unrealistic expectations of our partners. So Venus and Virgo can already do that. And then opposing Neptune retrograde, it can do this even more. So since Neptune is retrograde, it's a great time to reflect on the expectations you have of your partner and the relationship that you want with them. And I pulled the mouse card, which is really indicating a hyper focus on details, which can lead to anxiety and fear. And so this Virgo energy very much creates this. When we focus in on all the details, we can become fearful. And that's because we, specifically in relationships, can feel like our needs are not being met. So if you're focusing on certain things, it's because you feel like your needs are not being met in some area. The important thing is to communicate and really open up to the new moon in Libra energy, which is compromise and thinking of the partnership as a whole rather than your own needs. So if you become really critical, if you become super focused on all the details, what it's doing is it's taking away from the larger picture of your relationship and from the mutually beneficial aspect of your relationship. And I also pulled the Four of Cups, which is about reevaluating your current circumstances. So you can see that the universe is giving her something and she's really contemplating what she already has. And she looks kind of negative, but that's just because I think she's not quite sure of her current situation and of where she wants to take things. And that's kind of what I feel like is happening with us. Like, we are not totally certain of what's going on. We are reevaluating because we've approached things a certain way. It hasn't quite worked out exactly how we wanted it to. And so this energy is saying, okay, we need to reevaluate in order to find a way for this to work out in a really fruitful way. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second with the 10 of Cups, which is really exciting. So another aspect going on is that Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, which are all in Capricorn, is making a square to Mars. This can create a lot of inner tension for us to then achieve our goals and to make it happen now. And essentially, all this energy is slowing us down and saying that we need to restructure our lives. We need to create new systems in our lives in order to see our goals through to fruition. And that just because we have all of this excitement and this energy towards achieving those goals doesn't mean that we are meant to have it right now. It's essentially saying that we need to take a step back, reevaluate the foundations, because even if we get the goals now, the foundations aren't necessarily in place to support those goals to maintain the balance and harmony, which is Libra in our lives. So let's say we get our manifestations that we've been working so hard for. Well, it can oftentimes throw our life off kilter because we have not laid the foundations and prepared ourselves for this more expansive version of our life. So that's another thing to consider is, what is the divine timing in all this? Like, why hasn't my dreams or my wishes come to fruition yet? And there is a purpose and a reason behind it. And the tension that we are feeling is essentially saying that we are meant to have these goals and dreams, but we are also meant to practice patience, which is this Temperance card here, in order to really become the people that we need to be to hold these dreams. And then once we become those people, which will likely be near to 2021, we're going to see very fast fruition come to play. And you can see this with a lot of things. Whenever you lay a strong foundation to see results, that is actually a lot quicker. Laying the foundation is a very slow process. If you look at someone building a house, it doesn't take that long to actually like put up the drywall and all of that stuff. What takes the longest is laying a very strong foundation, creating the cement blocks, the wood, the frame, all of that stuff. I mean, I don't know a lot about houses, but let's just say that that's the case. And then that's really what I see for a lot of life. Like, it takes 9 months to make a baby inside of you. And I think that is the same thing that we're doing right now. We're trying to birth something, but we can't rush that process. It takes 9 months because that's how long it takes. And there are certain things in our life that it just takes a certain amount of time in order for us to become ready for those things to come in for us. And in order for us to be ready, in order for us to see them, we need to maintain a sense of confidence, even despite the patience that we need to have. So just because you aren't seeing the results right now doesn't mean that it's not meant for you. It just means that it's not the right time. So if you are looking for a specific thing in your life and it's not here, I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to feel discouraged, even though you may feel discouraged at times. Just keep in mind that new and more beautiful things are coming to you, but you just have to maintain a strong sense of confidence that you will achieve it. So that's going to be really important, is your belief in yourself and your belief in your goals, despite the fact that it takes more time right now. It's meant to take more time right now. And if you can go into it knowing that, then it's going to be easier to stick with it despite everything happening. All right, so let's talk about some of the aspects to this moon. So this moon is having a T-square between Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. So it's making a square to them, and it's opposing Mars retrograde. So when it's opposing Mars retrograde, it's essentially creating this feeling of, oh my gosh, I need to act now. It's creating a feeling of haste. But then the square that's happening to Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto is saying, you can't rush this because this foundation hasn't been laid yet. And we are also experiencing Mercury opposite Uranus still. And that was happening for the Aries full moon that happened on October 1st. And what I said for that was that around that time, we're going to be having new ideas come in about what we can do to change our lives in order to get us to that goal. So while this opposition to Mars is giving us the energy and the desire to make it happen now, and the square to Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter is saying, slow down, we need to build the foundations first. What's happening is that Mercury and Uranus are making an opposition, giving us the new ideas about how we can start to lay that foundation, how we can start to make those changes. However, with this new moon, Mercury is now retrograde opposing Uranus. So with the last one, it was opposing it direct, and now it's opposing it retrograde. What that means is that the initial ideas we had around the beginning of October are now coming through and saying, all right, these are pretty good, but we need to make adjustments. Whenever there's a retrograde, we need to reevaluate and reflect. And that's really why I pulled this Four of Cups card, because the new ideas that we just had come through are not quite finalized. They are great ideas. They're going to get us to the finish line, but they aren't perfect yet. And really, that's what I see 2020 is. It's this constant refinement of our goals, of our actions, of our intentions, of our thoughts in order to get us to our goal. It's a slow process, and that refinement is what lays the foundation. And then from there, we can blossom and grow in 2021 very quickly. So I think new insights are going to be coming in that's going to lead to a new beginning for us, because I pulled the Deer card and the Ace of Wands, which is really around inspiration, new beginnings. And I feel like, I mean, always with a new moon, there is some essence of a new beginning. And I think a lot of what this new moon is it's a balancing between leaving behind what wasn't working, readjusting, and then stepping into the new beginning. So I think these readjustments are not totally new beginnings. It's just refining what we've already been working on, but it's going to lead us to a totally new beginning, which is really this deer energy. If you think about it, like a deer or a fawn stretching their legs for the first time, they're a little bit wobbly. They're totally fresh and new to the world. And that's kind of how I see us. Like, we're kind of getting our bearings. We are readjusting and stepping up for the first time and looking out and thinking, oh, this could be a totally new life for us. Like, these ideas can totally take off and lead me to somewhere that I've been wanting to go for a really long time. And I absolutely love that for us. And especially because this moon is making a trine to the North Node in Gemini, whenever there is a positive angle to the North Node, it's essentially saying that whatever is happening in the sky right now, despite its discomfort, despite what it's doing to us in our lives and any anger and stuff that might be moving through us, despite all of that, it's still pushing us towards our destiny. We are still on our path towards our higher self. And so I think, even though it might not feel the best, it is a good thing. This tension right now is a good thing. So I really like that. And it's allowing us to step into greater happiness. Because if we would have just had all of our dreams and manifestations come through from the very beginning, it probably wouldn't have been as deep and as profound as what it's going to be like now that we've made tons of adjustments, now that we have further blossomed into who we're meant to be, and our dreams are then kind of pivoting and adjusting around our new self. And so what this wheel card to me is saying is that all of the refinement that we are doing right now is allowing us to go deeper into something that is more meaningful and more purposeful. Because a lot of the times when you ask somebody what they want, they're going to tell you things that are on the surface. And so that's really what the universe was doing. The last few months, it's been saying, okay, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? With all this energy with Mars, it's like, what do you want? It's giving us that inner fire, that energy to say, this is what I want. But that's the thing with Mars. It can be quite impulsive. It can act now. It can speak without thinking. And so what we would have said is like, kind of like the surface level. Oh, this is what I want. I want money. I want happiness. I mean, everyone wants happiness, but something more surface level than that. And then as the time goes on and we don't get what we want, and the universe asks us to adjust and really consider, what do you want? Things go deeper. So do you think that you would really be happy with the very first thing that you were thinking of? Or do you need to go deeper like this whale and think about what is going to nourish you on a spiritual level. What is going to fulfill you beyond just having your needs met? This is what this whale energy is saying, is that this was kind of the missing piece. We've been going after things that we want, saying things that we want, but there was a deeper level that was missing. And so this whale card is coming through saying that this Libra new moon is giving us the opportunity to have a new start in the area of our relationships, but also in our hopes and wishes. And it's essentially asking us to go a level deeper, because once we do that, then we are actually going to be fulfilled. Because if we got the manifestations that we desired from the very beginning, they would have been more surface level, and they wouldn't have led to such great fulfillment as the 10 of Cups. So if you really have to meet a lot of opposition and meet a lot of delays and stick with your goals, you're going to make sure that these are goals that are really worth sticking to. They're going to be goals that are really actually going to lead you to profound fulfillment and happiness of the 10 of Cups. And so that's really what I see, is that all this adjustment is going to lead us there. And we might be experiencing some anger floating around, some issues with our relationships. There's a lot of energy going on with Mars and with Venus. So just know that if you're experiencing those things, that we are meant to use our energy and put it into our work. So if you are feeling like angry, if you are feeling like you have a lot going on inside with this square to Jupiter and Saturn and Pluto and this opposition to Mars, you might feel like there's a lot of pent up energy. This is meant to be channeled into your work. And we can see that because this moon is sextiling Vesta, and Vesta is the goddess who, instead of marrying someone, took all of that love and sexual energy and she placed it into her work and her devotion to other people. And so that's what we are meant to do at this time. We're going to feel probably a little bit of tension in our relationships. We're going to probably feel a little bit angry with people, or like things are not happening right now. We're going to be kind of like pent up. And if that is the case for you, release that into your work, channel it into something useful, into something productive for you. And because this is a Libra new moon, I'm not focusing too heavily on relationships, but because it's a Libra new moon, it is always going to bring about a sense of needing to find balance and harmony in our lives, including our relationships with other people. And so during this time, I want you to also consider that aspect of your life. How can you approach your relationships or your interactions with the world as being more mutually beneficial, or thinking about the needs of others or the needs of the whole or the group rather than yourself? That's going to be really, really helpful around this new moon in order for you to actually achieve your goals, because you can't do it alone. You're not an island, and you're going to encounter a lot more frustration and difficulties if you're trying to approach this new goal or this new aspect of flourishing in your life from the angle of me. It's really not going to get you to where you want to be. It's going to take the hive mind, the group mind, or at least the mind around your relationship. So think about, how can I show up to my partnership to support them, and how can they support me? So always be thinking about it both ways. And then also, whenever we're thinking about Libra, it's about balance and harmony in our lives in general. So think about, what kind of person do I need to be in order to hold this new manifestation in my life? So you might have to create different systems. You might have to create different habits, different behaviors in order to be that person who can balance these more challenging like new things coming into your life with what you already have. So you don't want it to be something that throws you totally off balance if you do have this manifestation come through. And so this new moon is giving us a chance in these next 6 months to develop these systems, to develop these habits, to develop this foundation in order to be that person again that can hold this manifestation and stay balanced. So I hope that this was helpful for you guys. I'm sorry that I'm not going to do it for all of the signs because it's just too much right now. But yeah, I'm looking forward to maybe one day giving you guys a tour of my new apartment here in Colorado. And I will definitely see you for the next full moon, which is on the very last day of October on Halloween. And of course, as always, if you guys want to purchase an astrology reading from me, you can check me out at willowsbloom.com. And don't forget to check out my podcast, Astrobiz, because I also talk about the monthly horoscopes. And I just have a lot of really great interviews with spiritual entrepreneurs that are really worth your time. So I hope you have a great new moon. And don't forget to set an intention and maybe do a ritual. And I'll see you next week.